Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Now, prosecuting former Zambian presidents is becoming a familiar pattern. Why is that?
I think I can attribute that to three reasons. The first one, obviously, the Constitution. You know, most of the constitutions that were done during the struggle, they had a specific mandate that they were meant to actually accomplish, and most of it was blended around secrecy and too much power to actually execute most of the things that were actually required at that time. So when a current president is sitting on that power, they actually execute it because it's actually constitutional right. But as soon as they come out of office, it's actually maybe that they committed a number of offenses whilst doing that. Secondly, it's the nature of democracy. Democracy in itself is quite competitive. Too many political parties. I'm sure you've noticed every day we're actually having new political parties. So when you get to power, you actually want to consolidate your power. And in doing that, obviously, you have to suppress the most immediate opposition that you have. And in most cases, the threatening opposition comes from the political party that was actually sitting on which was in office. Then the last one, and this is very specific to Zambia, is that Zambians are competitive by very nature. They do whatever it takes to actually get ahead, even if it actually means actually upsetting other people.
Now, are these individuals genuinely corrupt, or is it just a smear campaign by their detractors?
I think I would go by it's the institution that corrupts. I've never been so close to any of the leaders, but most of those, the family around them, they're very good people. But as soon as they actually sit on that seat and discover the power that they actually have to execute it. Sometimes reasonably, sometimes under duress, and sometimes just human nature.
So in your assessment of the current President Michael Satta's tenure in office for the past couple of years, do you think he'll be one of those presidents who will move from political office into the courtroom?
Chances are it's likely. I mean, politically, the country is maturing, so it may not be. So it's a 50-50. But if I follow some of the things that have been done, like, for example, you take the road due to State House to be controlled from, and as soon as you start executing such things like the road deal, you're bound to actually end up being, doing things that are actually wrong. Yeah. So for Michael, I mean, I would want to say that because we are maturing politically, he may not be facing that prosecution, but secondly, he might, because he has also moved some of the things that were actually outside State House into State House, and obviously then is reliable.
Could that be the reason why most African presidents prefer to stay and probably die in power?
Most likely. I mean, and this is not just Africa. If we look at the history of even just developed countries, why do we have monarchies? It was all a question of actually doing what is right and continue doing it. In a way, sometimes if you look at it also, it's favorable. If you look at Uganda, not that I actually support that, is that it creates some economic stability, even political stability, if you continue for some time. But with the democracy that we have is that, and I insist, we need to actually have a very strong civil service, such that there is continuity between presidents and between political parties.
Right. Now, there's a growing trend of African leaders forming their own political dynasties in their respective countries by grooming members of their families to take over after them. I mean, we've seen former Senegalese President Abdoulaye Wade attempting to make Karim Wade, his son, his successor. Now here's President Satta's son, Mulenga, as one of the main contenders to take after his father. Is this the trend of hereditary rulers in Africa going anyway?
I think it's coming up. I mean, once a family moves into State House, you don't want to leave. And I don't think I want to just now say it's Africa. I think it's everywhere. Look at what George Bush also had the son actually take over. Chances are that they've even announced that his brother is also wanting to run for presidency. Yeah. So that is actually not exclusive. I think that is much more human. As soon as you get to plot one, you want to remain at plot one.
Right. Right. Mr. Otela, thank you so much for joining us.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Right.